I, 33 female, live with my brother, 32, and his new wife, 34. Things have been fine to a point, and I appreciate them taking me in during my time of need. This is not lost on me. I recognize they didn't have to help me, and I'm incredibly thankful that they've done that. But my sister-in-law has baby fever, and she's talking about trying to get pregnant. First of all, I know my brother had the snip after his divorce from his first wife. He would have had to have the procedure reversed, and his insurance won't cover it. And to be frank, they can't afford that. Part of why they allowed me to move in is because they're in financial trouble, and I'm contributing quite a lot of money to the bills right now. I cover probably 2/3 of all the bills because my sister-in-law doesn't work, and my brother pays an ungodly amount of child support to his ex-wife. So the financial issues can go ahead and be another point in this situation. My sister-in-law also can barely take care of herself. She sleeps most of the day. She doesn't clean, cook, or take care of the child she already has. Her daughter's young grammar school age, and she doesn't even interact with her unless she has to. That is a totally separate issue. I've become a live-in maid and nanny while working 45 or more hours a week. My sister-in-law lost custody of her other child about 2 years ago. He's a tween and living with family. I don't know why she even lost custody. She didn't fight to get him back. 2 days ago, my brother told me he has an appointment to meet with his doc to discuss the reversal so he and sister-in-law can try for a baby. I told them they were out of their minds. It got explosive, and I finally asked who was going to take care of a baby when my brother works full-time. I work full-time, and she constantly makes excuses to not even do basic crap around the house and take the dog outside. She really had the nerve to tell me, "I thought you could handle them when you got off work before brother gets home, so the load is evenly distributed." I blew up. I told her I wasn't going to be a parent to another one of her kids, and that if they really do this, then I'm totally done, and they're on their own. I told my brother I would always love him and help him if he needed me, but that I would never talk to sister-in-law and make sure the rest of the family disowns her too. I was probably the idiot for saying that the way I did. She started crying and locked herself in the bedroom. My brother's threatening to kick me out. And again, I might be the idiot for this. I told him he couldn't afford to kick me out, and he couldn't afford a replacement maid and nanny like I've been. I told her mom about what happened, and she thinks I'm right and is now mad at my brother. Our dad, however, said I was the idiot because it isn't my place to say anything about my brother's decisions. So, am I the idiot? Edit. I moved in over a year ago when I was down on my luck and unemployed. The conditions for me moving in were that I helped around the house until I was back on my feet. Their financial situation changed, though, and they asked me to stay, which is why I've lived with them for this long. What I did not expect was to get almost 100% of the workload in the home and work longer hours than my brother. We've had multiple conversations about how I felt it was unfair that I do so much, and my sister-in-law said they helped me, so I'm obligated to help now. Had I known this would be thrown in my face, I would rather have been homeless. So many red flags, Lennon just woke up. I was fully prepared to go into this saying that you were the idiot, but after reading it, not the idiot. Your dad is right. It shouldn't be your business, but they made it that way because they're including you in their childcare plans. If she wants another child so bad, why not work at getting the child she already has and lost custody of back? Also, you need to be calling CPS for your little niece. The thing is, she doesn't want a child. She wants a baby. Seriously, I despise men and women who love babies because they're like living dolls to dress up. But once they speak and show agency, the parents stop wanting to do the job of parenting or become abusive to keep the kids under their thumb. OP did the right thing in making it very clear she ain't going to be there to save them when sister-in-law inevitably screws up. You need to get out of this living situation and detangle yourself from them before your brother can kick you out. Find yourself a tiny apartment so you can watch the inevitable disasters from a safe distance. OP, get out now. You're already paying and working far too much for this household and enabling a lazy parent. Without you, their dumb marriage would hopefully implode before he gets his vasectomy reversed. The first time I met my in-laws, they called me Rose. My husband, then boyfriend, told them my name was Rosie, but for some reason, they assumed my actual name had to be Rose, and so that's how they first addressed me. I corrected them and said it was actually just Rosie. Father-in-law was like, "Oh, not a nickname?" And I said, "No, not a nickname, my legal name." They both made faces, and I was kind of freaked out because while I was asked before what Rosie was a nickname for, nobody outside my third grade teacher made such a big deal over my name. After that, they tried several Rose names to see which one it was. My husband told them repeatedly that my name was nothing but Rosie. Not really sure if they didn't believe us or were hoping I would adopt one of them. I've been called Rosalie, Rosalind, Rosemary, Roseanne, Rosabelle, Rosella, Rosamond, etc. Each time they've been corrected. After calling me Rosie a little while, they returned to calling me Rose. They introduced me to others as Rose and called out my name as Rose. They won't stop. Now that I'm about to be a mom myself, I'm less patient and understanding of this, so I've started to ignore them when they call me Rose. They dislike that. Last time I did it in front of other people, my in-laws knew. My husband laughed hard and said his parents' rude behavior deserved to be ignored. They feel like I'm petty and say Rose sounds more like a grown woman than Rosie does, and why can't I just let them call me Rose? I told them that Rose isn't my name, and they were trying to make a point about my name, and I didn't like it. They told me at the very least I shouldn't be ignoring them like that in front of others, and it's embarrassing to call me Rosie in front of other adults. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Or you can ramp it up and call them something completely different than their names. You could literally call them Eleanor and Richard. Those sound like grown-up names. Keep embarrassing them. If they get upset, they can deal with it. Also, I'd name my kids something like Jenny or Billy instead of formal versions, just to make them mad. A high school teacher once called on me using my sister's name. I knew he was talking to me, but I ignored him. He asked why I wasn't answering. I said, "Well, that's not my name. If you want my sister's name, she's in Kansas and attending college. If you want me to answer, I respond to my name." He didn't appreciate being called out in front of the class. The teacher never called me by my sister's name again. If they don't want to get ignored, then they simply need to call you by your correct name. That's your name, so they shouldn't be embarrassed. And if they introduced you properly to people, then they wouldn't feel embarrassed to call you by your real name. You aren't the one being petty. They are for refusing to use your name. I'm glad that your husband can see the humor in this and has repeatedly been telling them to use your real name instead of telling you to just go with the flow to keep the peace. I'm so fascinated with people who literally just don't care for someone else's name and simply rename them. They disrespect you. I see nothing wrong with returning the favor. Also, not for nothing, but you and your husband should prepare yourselves for when they try to rename your children to a name that they prefer when they're still young enough for it to stick. It's not unheard of, and they seem like the type that would. I have 2 sons who hate each other. This has affected the entire family, and now even their wives and kids can't get along. My older son has a teen daughter, Carla, who's a really sweet kid, but also a real button pusher. She knows exactly what to say to make someone upset or angry. My younger son is married to Jana, 38. So last night, we invited both of our sons over for dinner. I know, bad idea, but it was our anniversary, and we wanted all of our family with us. About an hour after they arrived, Carla changed her seat to sit next to Jana, and this was when I knew she was going to say something to make her upset. But before I could say anything, she said something into Jana's ear, and she became so mad and stood up, demanding that either I have to kick Carla out or her. I told her this was easy, showed her where the door was, and told her that I wasn't kicking out my granddaughter, so she could leave if she wanted. She called me an idiot and left. My son and their child left with her. Am I the idiot for not kicking my granddaughter out? Edit. I didn't hear, but it was something about her weight. You are the idiot. You admitted that you knew Carla was going to say something upsetting to Jana and did nothing. You let Jana leave without finding out what Carla said, and Carla knew that you would take her side. You enjoyed the strife between your sons, and since you didn't ask what was said, you obviously knew exactly what was said. I hope your son and Jana and their kids go no contact with you. Yeah, I think I learned why they hate each other. Favoritism and golden child. Does anyone else find it weird that OP refers to Carla as daughter and granddaughter, but her literal other grandchild, Jana and their son's child, as a child? Like, not even my grandchild or my grandson or granddaughter, just my son and their child. Like, but Carla's such a sweet kid. Geez. Yes, Carla's a sweet kid because OP has the grandparent filters on. Carla can do no wrong, even when she's actually in the wrong. Then it's actually not her fault, and the other person's to blame. Please stop being this person, OP. OP is, literally, way too old to pull this type of stuff. I thought we got wiser as we got older, but I guess we don't. But I do think OP is aware, but they just don't want to admit it, because they conveniently left out the reason for the feud and what Carla said to Jana. What a bratty kid. Good spot. OP clearly favors Carla's side of the family. Hopefully, the other side will recognize this and stop picking up when OP calls. Teaching your granddaughter that egging her on about her weight is totally okay, and even getting the results she wants is disgusting. You should be helping raise the girl into a functioning human being, not a mean brat. I, 42 male, am a registered nurse. My wife, 41, and I have a daughter who's a preteen and had a birthday today, and we decided to throw a party for her. Despite my working full-time at a hospital and part-time at an aesthetics clinic, our finances are such that we're always late on the mortgage because of our other expenses. My wife has a career as an equestrian, and her expenses for that career are around $38,000 a year. Add that to our house in a gated community close to the stables where they keep my wife's horse, and our student loans, shopping, golf, etc. We're always behind on our mortgage. So I was shocked to find out that the day after we were denied a very small loan, as well as a credit card that caters to people with bad credit, my wife paid an extra $550 for a better party photographer. We couldn't get the deposit back for the other one. In the days leading up to this party, I was losing sleep over our finances. Pulling doubles has become my norm, but I'm usually off on Saturdays. However, I have a reputation as the one who'll pick up any shift on short notice, so much so that my coworkers resent me because management asks, why can't they be like me? So a coworker got sick last minute, and I was told Friday night that they needed somebody for all of Saturday, offering a 12-hour shift. I knew my daughter's party was today, but I knew that I would have spent the whole party sweating about the fact that we couldn't pay our mortgage. So I decided to pick up the shift. When my wife found out I was going to work at 7 a.m. and was not going to be home until evening, she was furious and accused me of being a bad father. She's not talked to me since. Am I the idiot for trying to pay bills? Food, $200. Data, $150. Rent, $800. Horses, $38,000. Utilities, $150. OMG, someone who's good at the economy, please help me budget this. My family is dying. In all seriousness, if you're so stressed out about finances that you must miss your daughter's birthday for the entire day, you should reevaluate your spending habits. You are the idiot. Love drill, LOL. But I think I'd say everyone's the idiot here. OP and his wife need to sit down and come up with a more feasible budget for their family. It's not fair that OP has to do all this extra work, as his wife wants to have her cake and eat it too, but OP should also stand up for himself. But she has a career, LOL. It costs the family $38,000 per year. Ah, yes, the famous, I spend more money on this job than I do making it. This is just like people in MLM scams, but at least OP's wife isn't recruiting anyone into her nonsense, unless you count OP himself. Exactly. Honey, that's a hobby, not a career. A career doesn't cost you $38K more than it brings in. And dude, this kid would rather have her dad than a $500 plus photographer. And who has a photographer for a kid's party? Is that a thing? Indeed for celebrities and whatnot, but us normies? No, seriously. OP and his wife need to make a proper budget, and quickly. Their poor kid. Well, you see, Mom's Instagram followers deserve the best photos. And how much do we bet that his wife is actually angrier about having to host the party alone or losing face and using the bad father to blame and guilt him? OP, you have to shut down this crap. She's taking horrible advantage of you. She's killing you and robbing you of the time with your kids. Enough. Myself, 29 male, my wife, 27, our toddler, and my parents, 59 male, 54 female, were scheduled to go on a big international family vacation for the upcoming long weekend, and I pulled the plug this morning. We were going to travel to stay in my parents' timeshare, a beautiful 2-bedroom beachfront house. The house features 2 bedrooms, 1 big room with a king bed, and a smaller room with 2 queen beds. Both rooms have their own private bathroom and shower area, as well as their own TV. My parents usually take the big room, which of course they would. It's their timeshare. They pay for it and deserve to choose their room. The problem is, our toddler recently decided that he would refuse to sleep in his travel crib. He only feels safe in an unfamiliar place if he sleeps with us in the same bed, which we really enjoy when we're in a king-sized bed. However, anything smaller than that, my wife and I are miserable and don't sleep at all because of his tossing and turning. Given the above, I asked my parents if they'd be okay swapping rooms with us for just this trip, a message that they ignored for 5 days, until this morning when my dad said he'd try to see if he could somehow get a bigger bed for the smaller room, but that no, he needed to stay in the big room and he'd hoped I'd understand. That was the extent of his reasoning. I received his text reply just as I was preparing to make the 6-hour trip to my nearest passport office to get an emergency passport, as I'd recently lost mine. On top of that, our flight just got moved from 11 a.m. to 8 a.m., meaning we'd have to arrive at the airport no later than 5 a.m. and wake up our toddler at 4 a.m. to make it on time. I was willing to deal with all of this until I realized we'd likely have to tough it out in a queen bed the entire trip and not really get any sleep. After that, the vacation just didn't seem doable for us. So I pulled the plug and politely told my parents that we'd have to cancel on them. I'm honestly very surprised my dad was unwilling to make a simple concession for his son and grandson, but I'm open to the fact that I may be in the wrong here. It just didn't seem like a huge deal to me. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. It's their timeshare that they're paying for. You're just along for the ride. You said there were 2 beds in the room you'd be using. You could have taken turns with your wife, switching off nights where one of you slept in the bed with the kid. Instead, you just ruined a nice family trip because of your stubbornness. I've slept in a queen-size bed with my husband and 2 toddlers on vacation many times. It's absolutely doable. It would be one thing if it was an impossible situation, like having to fit the 2 of you and the baby in a twin. But it's not. It's slightly less comfortable than if you had the king-sized bed, and it's unreasonable for you to expect your parents to give up the nice room that, again, they paid for in order to take the smaller room that they also paid for, and you should be grateful to have. Cry me a river. You're entitled and spoiled, and you're going to raise your son to be entitled and spoiled. Get over yourself.